Okay, so the first part then is we're going to be looking at the journal to correct errors. But the first part is errors which do not cause an imbalance. And when I'm talking about an imbalance, this means that the trial balance, it does not cause. So the trial balance, even though it's got errors, will still balance. Okay, so the correct amount of debits and credits has happened, which don't forget the trial balance is that debits equal credits. However, the debits and credits that have happened, there is some errors within them. Okay, so we're going to look at these now. So I have got the same slides as you here. That's what I've just told you. So the key thing is as well, it's not only being able to do the double entry for these, it's that you do actually need to know these names. So the first one is an error of omission, and this means left something out. So if you think omission, missing. Okay. Now, I am going to show you my way of going about doing these journals. You might take the logic and do it a totally different way. As long as you get into the same answers, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so don't, if you think that you've found another way or your brain likes a different way, that's absolutely fine. So, the first thing then that we've been told is that a payment for electricity of £80 was not recorded. So that means no double entry being done. Okay, so this transaction has not been put into our ledgers at all. So what we always ask ourselves with an error is, well, what has happened? Well, what's happened here is electric account has got nothing in, the bank account has got nothing in. So no double entry has happened. So how would you correct this? This one's nice and simple. You would do the double entry. So if it's a payment for electric, we will be debiting electric because it's an expense with £80. And it's been paid from the bank, we're assuming. So we would be crediting the bank, reduces the asset. £80. And I know you wouldn't write them bits. I'm just doing it so that we keep thinking about double entry. Okay, so that is an error of omission. Okay, the next one is error of original entry. So this is where you have done debits and credits, but when you actually did the original entry, you did it wrong. And this is where the incorrect figures have been used. Okay. So our example here is we have got a payment of £520 from a credit customer, but it's been recorded as 250. So that means the debits and credits have been done at 250 and they should have been done at 520. So that's why it wouldn't cause an imbalance, because the trial balance will still equal, because 250 is on the debit side, 250 is on the credit side. However, this is actually wrong. So what's the original entry? So the bank has had a debit of 250. The sales ledger control account has had a credit of 250. Is that right for the situation we're dealing with? Well, yes, it is, because we've received a payment from a customer. So that would go into the bank, increase the asset 250. And it's a credit customer, so reduces the asset of sales ledger control, which would be a credit transaction. Okay, so there are various ways you can go around correcting this. So the first way that I want to show you is that we are going to remove the transaction and then post the correct transaction. Okay, so if I get a different colour, hopefully I've got one here. So I've got a blue here. So what I've done here is drew the T account for bank with its 250 in, and I've drew a T account for sales ledger control with the 250 in. So is everybody happy then? If I wanted to remove this 250, if I've got 250 on the debit side, I would need to credit to remove it. So if I was to put 250 on the credit side, that now would make that T account equal 0, wouldn't it? So if I write here what I've done, so I've credited the bank 250. Sales ledger control account's got 250 on the credit side. So to remove that, I would do 250 on the debit side. So debit sales ledger control account 250. So these T accounts now are both at 0. So now I could post the correct, so I've removed the transaction. Now I could post the correct transaction. Okay, so a payment coming in would be 520 in my bank to the sales ledger control account. And in the sales ledger control account would be a payment going into the bank of 520. So if I was to write what I've done, I've debited the bank 520, credited the sales ledger control account 520. So these 4 entries are my journal. I have removed the original transaction and I have corrected, the correct transaction has been put in place. So that is one way that we could have corrected that. The other way that you could have done it is you could have said, okay, well, looking at these bottom T accounts, I've got 250 in the bank and 250 in the sales ledger control account. And actually, I want it to equal 520. So the other way that you could have done it is to post the difference. Okay, so we want it to be 520. We've already got 250 in there. So we would post £270 in the T account. So journal 270. Journal 270. This now equals 520. This now equals 520. Going back to these ones at the top, that now equals 520. That now equals 520. So both ways will get you to the same answer. It's just whichever way you feel more comfortable with.